The twin suns were setting over the broken plateaus of Gliese 7D, bleeding orange light across rust-red stone and brittle alien trees. My boots crunched over powdered dust, and each step sent echoes through my helmet's mic, reminding me how alone I was. We were supposed to land on the southern continent, where the ruins were, but our autopilot rerouted to the equatorial range. Atmospheric anomaly, the ship's AI claimed. But now I stood here, alone, trying to recalibrate the damn beacon while my team waited in orbit. Then I saw her. She was standing motionless beside a ridge, backlit by a halo of refracted light from the horizon. At first, I thought she was a statue. Then her tail flicked once, a slow, deliberate motion like a torch dancing in the wind. I froze. My hands instinctively raised. No sudden moves. My translator chirped to life, scanning her form. Humanoid. Unknown genus. No match. She stepped closer. Her fur shimmered, a vivid blaze of orange tinged with gold. 2 large vulpine ears rotated toward me, alert. Her eyes glowed faintly, soft amber with a faint vertical slit. But it wasn't her alienness that shook me. It was the way she looked at me, like I wasn't a threat, but a mistake. A blunder she hadn't decided whether to forgive. Identify, she said, her voice low, melodic, and accented in a way no database could parse. I didn't mean to intrude, I said. I'm human. Name's Jace Wren. Just exploring. I didn't know this area was inhabited. She narrowed her eyes. Ignorance is not innocence. Then, before I could speak again, she vanished, disappearing into the shadowed canyon like a whisper on the wind. And I knew then, something important had just begun. Would you like me to continue from here, section by section, 2,000 characters each, and send them in order? Or do you want me to prepare all 100,000 characters in a single document for download? I stood frozen, staring at the jagged path where she disappeared. My instincts screamed to retreat, report the encounter, wait for the team, but something in her voice, that perfect mix of judgment and curiosity, pulled me forward. The canyon narrowed quickly, the wind whistling through worn stone and twisted crystal vines. I turned off my helmet's light, relying instead on the ambient glow from phosphorescent moss growing along the canyon walls. 20 minutes in, I found the ruins. Not ancient, not eroded, preserved. Like someone had cleaned them. Monolithic spires emerged from the canyon floor, inscribed with curling glyphs that shimmered when I stepped too close. At the center of the site stood a thin obelisk, pulsing faintly, orange and white, like a heartbeat. And leaning against it, with arms crossed and tail lazily swaying, was her. You came, she said, not surprised. I don't know why, I admitted. Curiosity. Stupidity, maybe. You follow things you do not understand. You walk through fire barefoot, she said, stepping toward me. What do you expect to find? A chance to explain. Explain what? That I didn't mean to trespass. That I'm not here to harm anyone. She walked a slow circle around me. Her eyes flicked to my boots, my data pad, the insignia on my jacket. Her fur was sleek and short but denser around the shoulders, like a mane. Her armor, if it could be called that, was a layered weave of iridescent threads and flexible plates, etched with fine runes that looked hand-carved. Finally, she stopped in front of me. Her hand extended toward my chest, just over my heart, not quite touching. My name is Silari, she said. You stepped into a holy site. Do you understand what that means? No, I admitted. She leaned in. It means you owe an answer. And maybe a debt. The wind picked up, swirling motes of orange dust between us. She didn't step back. Then ask? I said. Silari blinked once, then tilted her head, her expression unreadable. I already have. Let me know if you want the next section immediately, or want to adjust pacing, dialogue, or narrative focus before I continue. She turned her back on me and walked toward the obelisk. The way she moved, like a flame that knew its own danger, made my breath catch. I followed slowly, unsure if I was permitted or merely tolerated. As we approached, the obelisk's pulsing intensified. "This site," she said, placing a hand on the smooth crystal, "marks the boundary between my people's past and everything we fear becoming." The runes lit up beneath her fingers. "It's called the Ember Veil," she added. "A memory lattice. It records." "Records what?" She looked over her shoulder, her glowing eyes unreadable. "Everything." A flash burst from the base of the structure. The dust lifted in ribbons, swirling upward like smoke. And suddenly we were surrounded by spectral figures, Vulpine warriors, battleships, distant worlds, and flashes of a planet burning red. I staggered back. Silari didn't move. "This is what we buried. A war that nearly consumed our system. Civil war born from contact with outsiders. You think I'm here to restart it?" She stepped toward me. "You carry the same recklessness in your eyes. And yet, I'm not holding a weapon." "Neither did they at first." I swallowed. "Then why not kill me?" A pause. Silari looked down, her expression flickering with something complicated. "Because I've heard your voice before," she said quietly. My blood chilled. "What do you mean?" She turned away again. "I don't know. But you echoed in the veil." I stared at her. The firelight of the projections danced across her fur, making her look like she was made of molten copper. My heart raced. "I'm not your enemy, Silari." "I know," she whispered. "But that doesn't make you safe." Before I could respond, the canyon wall lit up with artificial floodlights. Her ears snapped upright. "Hide." "What?" She shoved me hard behind the obelisk just as a heavy ship descended above the ridge. Angular. Dark. Not Kalari. "Stay down," she hissed. "Who are they?" Silari narrowed her eyes. "Not mine." She pulled a blade from her hip. It shimmered with the same orange as the veil. And then, like a myth made real, she leapt. The dropship roared as it descended, engines kicking up waves of dust that blotted out the stars. Its hull was gunmetal black, emblazoned with sharp insignias I didn't recognize, not Kalari. Not human. Something else. I crouched behind the obelisk, trying to make myself as small as possible. Silari didn't wait. She launched herself upward in a fluid arc, landing with feline grace atop a boulder just as the ship's hatch yawned open. 3 armored figures disembarked, rifles raised, moving with unsettling synchronization. Their helmets had no visors, just obsidian curves that reflected everything and revealed nothing. One of them scanned the canyon with a spherical drone. Another pointed toward the obelisk. My direction. Silari struck before they could take another step. She dropped from above like a flame-wrapped meteor, slicing downward in a flash of orange light. Her blade met one of the intruders at the shoulder, biting through armor like cloth. Sparks erupted. The figure dropped instantly. The others wheeled toward her, weapons humming. I didn't think I ran. A warning shout echoed through my helmet as a bolt of searing energy whizzed past my head. I dove behind a second spire and slammed my fist against my comm. "Orbit team, this is Jace. I've made contact. Hostiles confirmed. Unknown species. 1 ally on site. Need extraction." Static. Another blast shook the ground behind me. Silari was a blur of motion, dancing through gunfire, her tail whipping in perfect balance, every movement like choreography. She ducked, slid, and pivoted, slicing a second enemy at the knee. It shrieked, distorted and garbled. But the third one was faster. It fired a concussive round straight at her. I watched in horror as Silari's body arced midair and slammed into the canyon wall. Dust exploded. Her blade skittered across the ground. "No!" I sprinted toward her without thinking. The final soldier turned toward me, weapon locking with a whine. My legs stopped working. This was it. Then something surged behind me. Not light. Not wind. Voice. The obelisk flared, no screamed, and a pulse erupted from its base. Every rune along the ruins ignited in orange flame. The intruder froze mid-step. as if caught in a stasis field. Silari's voice rasped from the dust. The veil doesn't like strangers. The enemy's body convulsed once, then collapsed like a marionette with its strings cut. Silence fell. Only the wind and the hum of ancient stone remained. I rushed to her side. Silari! She coughed once, her breath shallow. You're louder than you look, human. You're bleeding, I said, fumbling for my medkit. And you're still alive, she whispered. We're full of surprises. She leaned against the canyon wall, breast shallow, fermented with dark blood that shimmered faintly, copper-orange in the half-light. My medkit buzzed open, and I pulled out a sterile patch, hands trembling. This might sting. She bared her teeth in a half-grin. Everything about you stings. Still, she didn't resist when I pressed the patch against her ribs. Her breathing hitched, but she said nothing. I worked quickly, sealing the wound with synthetic gel. My hands brushed her side, and her muscles tensed beneath my fingers, tight, coiled like a predator refusing to admit pain. You should have stayed hidden, she murmured. You saved my life. I didn't save it for you, she whispered. I saved it because something about your presence disrupts the quiet I've grown used to. I swallowed. That's poetic. She coughed again, then gave me a look. Don't flatter yourself. I helped her to her feet, slinging one of her arms over my shoulder. She wasn't heavy, but there was weight in her presence. Like gravity bent slightly where she stood. What were those things? I asked as we staggered past the fallen bodies. Scouts, she said. They're called Valari. Outlanders. Not from this system. Not from any system. Then what are they after? Her tail flicked. Anything ancient. Anything powerful. The Ember Veil holds memories. And power. Why weren't you armed for this? She looked at me with tired eyes. Because I came here to think. Not to fight. We limped through the winding canyon as the stars slowly shifted above us. At one point, she stumbled, and I caught her, arm wrapped firmly around her waist. She didn't pull away. Eventually, we reached the mouth of a cavern partially hidden by a cascade of thorny vines. She parted them with her good hand. This is my refuge. I won't bring you back to my people yet. But you can stay here, for now. Inside was a natural chamber lit by soft blue fungi. Woven mats lined the floor, and a nest of glowing crystals buzzed with quiet energy in the corner. I helped her down gently. Why not take me to your people? She looked at me, and for once, there was no challenge in her gaze. Only quiet. Because I don't know what you are yet, she said. Threat or turning point. I sat beside her, unsure what to say. You still haven't told me why you saved me, I said. She rested her head back and closed her eyes. Maybe I was curious. I watched her for a while, breathing slowly, golden fur rising and falling, until sleep finally claimed her. And somewhere deep inside, I knew this was no longer a research mission. It was the beginning of something dangerous. Something sacred. She slept for hours. The soft bioluminescence of the cavern pulsed in rhythm with the crystals stacked neatly in the corner, giving the space a heartbeat. I stayed awake, watching, thinking. Everything I'd known about alien life had come from data packets, dry analysis, and half-buried ruins. None of it prepared me for her. Not her voice. Not her fury. Not her silence. When she finally stirred, her tail was the first to move, curling once before her eyes blinked open. She didn't startle. She just looked at me. You stayed. You let me, I said. A slow breath. She sat up, wincing as the sealed wound tugged beneath her arm. Then she reached into the folds of her armor and pulled out a small object. A sliver of metal, ringed with crystal teeth. She held it toward me. This is an ember tag, she said. We share it with someone we wish to remember. I hesitated. Why give it to me? I didn't say I was giving it, she replied. I said I was showing it. I leaned closer. The object shimmered faintly, and for a second, the air around it distorted, flashing brief memories I couldn't comprehend. A face. A forest. A voice like wind on water. It reacts to proximity, she explained. Memory is sacred to my people. We don't forget. We carry. I studied the tag. Your people, what do you call yourselves? She looked surprised. You don't know? I've never encountered a live one of you, I said honestly. Only fragments. Dead tech. We never had names. She studied me, ears tilted slightly forward, as though deciding how much I was worth. We are the Katherin, she said at last. In your tongue, those who burn with purpose. It suits you. Her brow arched. I mean, you fight like a wildfire. A flash of teeth, almost a smile. And you blunder like wind. We sat in silence for a few minutes. The wound had stopped bleeding. Her breathing was steadier. She tapped her claws against a stone rhythmically. I meant what I said, I told her. I'm not here as a soldier. No, she said quietly. You're worse. Worse? She leaned forward. You're a seeker. And that's bad? She held up the ember tag. Seekers wake old ghosts. Stir what should sleep. I didn't answer. Instead, I reached into my satchel and pulled out something of my own. A holochip. A photo of my sister and I back home. Laughing. Dirt on our faces from building a comms relay with our bare hands. I offered it to her. She didn't take it, but she looked. And that mattered. We sat in the half-light, wordless. Silari's gaze lingered on the holochip. She didn't touch it, but the flickering image reflected in her amber eyes. My sister's laughter echoed faintly from the tiny speaker, barely audible over the cavern's hum. Who is she? Silari asked at last. My sister. Lyra. She built comm towers back on Earth. Smarter than me. Braver too. You miss her? I nodded. Every day. Her eyes softened, barely. We do not speak of our family aloud. Not often. Names hold memory, and memory binds. Speaking them too freely makes them fragile. I blinked. That's beautiful. It's dangerous, she corrected. Once you name something, you can't uncarry it. A silence settled again, heavier this time. Finally, I asked the question that had sat in my chest like a stone. Back at the Vale, you said you heard my voice before. What did you mean? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stood slowly, stretching her limbs. Her silhouette in the glow looked like a painting of motion and stillness at once. Then, without looking at me, she said, Some Katherin are born with ember sense. They feel echoes. Glimpses of what was, or what may be. You're one of them? Yes. And you heard me? In a vision? She finally turned. No. In a memory. That stopped me cold. How is that possible? I don't know, she admitted. But the Ember Veil remembers you, Jace Wren. It shouldn't. And yet. She stepped closer, her expression unreadable. When you said lovely, I felt something change. I flushed. I didn't mean to. I know, she interrupted. And that's why it matters. She brushed past me, retrieving a thin veil-like cloak from a recessed alcove in the wall. It shimmered with threads of bronze and orange. Tomorrow, she said, slipping it over her shoulders, I will take you to someone who may have answers. Someone like you? She gave a wry smile. No. Someone far less forgiving. I swallowed hard. Should I be afraid? She paused at the entrance, tail flicking once. Yes. The morning, if it could be called that, began with the sky bruised violet and rust, the twin suns rising unevenly. One burned steady, white-hot. The other flickered like a dying flame, barely casting heat. Silari moved ahead of me, navigating the narrow canyon trails with silent familiarity. I struggled to keep pace, scrambling over stone ridges and ducking beneath hanging thorn branches that hissed with static energy. Where are we going? I asked, breath catching. To the Hollow Ember, she replied. It's a conclave, a place of memory and trial. The Emberkeepers meet there. Are they like priests? No, she said flatly. They're worse. I didn't ask again. The landscape shifted as we moved deeper into the canyon network. The rock grew darker, smoother, like obsidian glass melted and frozen mid-flow. Strange symbols lined the cliffs, glowing faintly orange as we passed. I reached out to touch one. Silari snapped. Don't. I pulled my hand back. Why? Because some stones remember pain. We walked in silence after that. After hours of hiking, we crested a hill overlooking a bowl-shaped valley. At its center stood a ring of monoliths, each one cracked and smoking, as though struck by lightning. The air shimmered. Heat without fire. That's it, she said. As we approached, I saw them, figures in cloaks of ash gray and ember thread, faces veiled, tails low and still. There were 6 in total, standing equidistant around a 7th figure kneeling at the center of the stone ring. One of them turned. Silari of the Broken Line. The voice was dry, papery, but strong. You bring a ghost. Not a ghost, she replied, stepping forward. A trespasser. A human. The veil echoed with his presence. That turned heads. A ripple passed through the circle as they looked at me. I suddenly felt transparent, like they were reading not just my face but the space beneath it. He speaks our name? One of them asked. I do, I said hoarsely. Calderon. The kneeling figure stood. Her veil was thin, revealing glowing orange irises and a streak of silver across her fur. You know nothing of what that name means. I want to, I said. I want to understand. Do you wish redemption? She asked, stepping forward. I didn't know I needed it. She stopped, inches from me. All who trespass do. Especially those who awaken the veil. The air grew thick. Silari shifted uncomfortably behind me, but didn't intervene. What must I do? I asked. The Emberkeeper raised one clawed finger and pressed it to my chest. You must bleed. I didn't flinch when her claw touched my chest. But when the world disappeared around me, I nearly screamed. The ground vanished. The sky folded. Sound inverted, like being pulled into a heartbeat that wasn't mine. And then I was floating in pitch black, pierced by slow embers drifting through the void. This wasn't a vision. This was memory. Not mine. I saw a forest burning. Towering canopies ablaze in orange and white, their leaves shrieking as they curled into ash. Vulpine warriors clashed in the trees, blades lit like sunfire, voices raised in desperate cries I couldn't understand, but somehow felt. Betrayal. Fracture. Kin against kin. Then it changed. I was inside a ship. Not Kalari. Not human. Somewhere in between. Medical beds lined the walls, and inside them, Calderon bodies. Unmoving. Dead? No, erased. I saw human scientists hovering over them. Confused. Odd. One of them pulled something from a console. A core. A recording? Then the voices began arguing. They're still warm, this tech's recent. They weren't supposed to be here. This changes everything. Do we extract or alert? Extract. We scrub the logs. Nobody needs to know. The memory fractured. I was falling again. Voices around me. Calderon voices. You saw. You touched what was buried. You carry our pain now. I landed hard, back in the stone circle, coughing, sweat pouring down my neck. Silari caught me before I collapsed. Her arms were firm, her expression unreadable. The lead Emberkeeper spoke, voice like gravel and wind. He's seen the fracture. He's not just a trespasser. He's a witness. Silari's jaw clenched. I didn't bring him to see the old fire. I brought him to answer for it. Then he must return to the source, the keeper said. Where your people first met his. I staggered to my feet. You mean the ruins I found? Silari didn't look at me. They weren't ruins. They were a vault. A memorial. And someone opened it. My stomach twisted. You think I? No. she interrupted softly. But one of yours did. The Ember Keepers whispered among themselves. Then the lead keeper said, Take him back. Let the veil decide what truth survives. I wanted to argue. Wanted to run. Instead, I nodded. Because the vision had shown me something terrifying. This war didn't start with them. It started with us. We traveled at dusk. Silari walked ahead of me, her steps brisk but measured, her tail flicking with every silent thought. She hadn't spoken since we left the hollow ember. I followed, bruised by what I'd seen, unsure whether I belonged beside her anymore. Was it us? I asked finally. Humans, I mean. Did we start this? She didn't turn around. Not you. But your kind planted the match. And you've been holding the flame ever since, I said. She glanced over her shoulder, ember eyes sharp in the dimming light. I hold it because someone has to. We passed through a crevice where the wind howled like a voice. The canyon widened, and there it was, the ruined chamber where we first met. The ember veil still pulsed faintly, its symbols quiet now, sleeping. I need to see what was taken, she said. You'll help me find it. Me? You activated it before. The veil listened to you. She paused. Perhaps it still will. I approached the central obelisk again, heart thudding. The carved runes shimmered faintly under my touch, but nothing happened. Silari stepped forward, pressing her palm flat beside mine. A ripple passed through the stone. Light exploded from the base, sharper, faster than before. Not memories this time, but logs. A recording buried deep. The projection showed a human expedition. 4 scientists in exploration suits. One of them I recognized, Dr. Imra Sel. She was one of the lead xenologists in the Proxima studies. Her voice crackled through the feed. Found an access point. Still warm. I think it's storing something. Emotional? What kind of data? It's not just data. It's grief. The screen glitched. Then showed them extracting a glowing core. The runes dimmed instantly. A low hum shook the canyon, and then, silence. Silari watched with her arms crossed, face like stone. They knew, she said softly. They knew it wasn't theirs. But they took it anyway. I swallowed hard. We never saw this footage. It was scrubbed. Convenient, she snapped. A silence fell. Then her voice dropped. That core held our ancestral bond threads. Memories that guide our leaders. Voices of the dead. You're saying, your people were flying blind after that? Her jaw tightened. We lost generations of wisdom. And in the chaos that followed, we lost peace. I didn't know what to say. I can't undo that, I murmured. She looked at me for a long moment. But you can help us get it back. A new voice interrupted. No, he can't. We turned as figures emerged from the far ridge, 3 of them, in black armor with deep crimson trim. Not Valari. Human. Silari's blade was out in a flash. You brought them here? No, I said, horrified. I swear I didn't. But the man in front, mid-40s, cold eyes, smiled without warmth. I'm Commander Daelon Quinn. Earth Colonial Preservation Unit. He raised a sleek plasma rifle. And I'm here to clean up what your curiosity started. Silari stepped in front of me. Blade raised. Ears rigid. Tail frozen. Commander Quinn's eyes flicked over her stance, her armor, the glowing blade humming inches from his line of fire. He didn't flinch. Well, he said dryly. Didn't expect the fox to play guard dog. Put the weapon down, Silari said coldly. Quinn smirked. I'm not here for you. You're on Katharan soil. Technically, we're not in Katharan space anymore. This planet's listed as unclaimed in the Central Archive. Legal gray zone. Her growl vibrated in the back of her throat. We buried our dead here. Quinn's smile faltered, but only for a second. Then he gestured with the rifle, casually pointing it at me. Jace Wren. Officially declared AWOL. Unauthorized ground contact. Do you know how much trouble you've caused? She saved my life, I said. Quinn cocked an eyebrow. And now you think she's one of the good ones? She's not the one aiming at me. Yet, he muttered, then refocused on Silari. Listen. This isn't about you. It's about containment. That veil of yours, whatever tech it uses, Earth Command wants it locked down before someone else gets to it. The Valari are sniffing around. If we don't act, they will. You already acted, she snapped. You desecrated it. You stole what was never yours. Quinn's jaw clenched. We didn't know what it was. We thought it was a vault. Weapons cache. It was memory, I said. It was peace. He hesitated. Just long enough. Then he nodded to the soldier behind him. Take the tech core and prep the site for detonation. No, I said. Step aside, Ren. I won't. Quinn turned to me. You really think this ends in peace? Look at her. Look at this place. They live in fire and ruins. And you want to tie humanity's future to them? A long pause. Silari's voice was quiet. I never wanted to be tied to anyone. Then she moved. Faster than I could track, she lunged, not toward Quinn, but toward the soldier reaching for the veil. Her blade flashed. A scream rang out. Sparks flew. Quinn fired. Silari twisted midair, his bolt grazing her shoulder, but she didn't slow down. I tackled him before he could fire again. We hit the ground hard. Dust exploded around us. His rifle skidded away. Then I was staring into his furious eyes, fists raised, adrenaline surging. You're making a mistake, he growled. No, I said. I'm fixing one. I didn't land a punch. Because behind me, Silari snarled. He dies if you try. I turned. She had the rifle aimed at Quinn's skull. And for the first time, he looked afraid. Quinn's hands slowly lifted, fingers twitching. He stared down the barrel of Silari's captured rifle, sweat beading along his temple despite his icy glare. You won't shoot, he said. Won't I? Silari asked, calm and low. You need me. Your species needs peace. No, she replied. My people need justice. The standoff hung in the air like a blade suspended on a single thread. The other two soldiers behind Quinn raised their weapons, but neither fired. They knew. One wrong move and their commander would be ash. I stepped in, heart pounding. Silari. He's not worth it. She didn't look at me. He would have erased everything. Again. I know. But killing him. She turned then, and her eyes silenced me. This is not about revenge, she said. This is about consequences. She moved the rifle, lowering it inch by inch until it pointed at the ground. The muscles in her arms were still tight, but her finger eased off the trigger. Quinn exhaled slowly. She tossed the weapon aside. Then she said, You'll leave. All of you. You'll return the memory core to its resting place. And you'll speak nothing of what you saw here. And if we don't? She bared her fangs. Then next time, I don't hesitate. Quinn stood. Wiped the dust from his uniform. I'll have to report this, he said. You'll report what you like. But know this, Earth won't be the only one listening. He turned to me, frustration carving lines into his face. Ren, if you come back now, I'll try to shield you. But if you stay with them, you're finished. I stepped beside Silari. I already made my choice. Quinn looked at us, jaw clenched. Then he nodded curtly to his men. They retrieved the core, but rather than pocket it, they placed it gently on the stone beside the obelisk, retreating without another word. A ship descended moments later, humming quietly as it pulled them away into the night sky. And then we were alone again. The canyon was quiet. The dust had settled. Silari stepped toward the memory core, placed both palms against it, and bowed her head. Light blossomed beneath her fingers, warm, vibrant, alive. The veil lit up. I thought you were going to kill him, I said softly. I still might, she replied, her voice distant. But not today. She looked up at me. Today, you earned your place in the fire. The sky cracked with thunder as Silari and I ascended the ridge path leading to Emberhold, the heart of Kaltherin command. It wasn't built like a city. It grew like one, towers spiraling from volcanic stone, roots of glass-veined crystal winding through the cliffs, and bridges that shimmered with every step. Every soldier we passed froze. Their eyes locked on me. Some with disbelief. Others with quiet rage. No words. Only silence, and the sound of distant alarms echoing in the wind. Silari led the way through gates carved from obsidian, flanked by armored guards who didn't dare stop her. But they watched. One hand on their weapons. One eye always on me. At the top of a sweeping staircase, a doorway split open with a hiss. And the council awaited. 7 figures stood atop a raised dais, 3 in ceremonial armor of molten silver, 2 cloaked in volcanic silk, and 2, blindfolded, their faces hidden behind plates etched with ancient script. The room was circular, open to the sky above, and the floor beneath us was glass. Beneath it, a swirling current of liquid amber, pulsing like blood. Silari knelt. I did the same. The central figure stepped forward, a towering Kaltherin female with gray-streaked orange fur and braided golden cords trailing from her armor. Silari of the Broken Line, she said, voice thunderous. You defied our order. I did, Silari replied, unflinching. You spared the trespasser. You defended him from execution. I did. You brought him here. I did. Why? Silari looked up, and her voice was calm. Because the fire does not heal by burning everything. Sometimes it purifies. And this one, she gestured to me, has shown more courage than those who first desecrated the veil. He returned the memory. He defended the right. He bled for truths not his own. Murmurs rippled through the council. The blindfolded one to the right leaned forward. He is still human. Yes, Silari said. But he does not carry conquest in his breath. One of the others sneered. That's what they said before. Another added. Their kind always speaks of peace. Right before they steal, or lie, or run. I stood. Then let me speak. Silari tensed, but did not stop me. I faced them. You're right. We made mistakes. We stole something sacred. We let greed and fear shape our orders. I can't change that. But I can stand here now, unarmed, alone, knowing that I might never go home, and say that I came to understand. They were quiet. You don't owe me trust, I continued. But if you still carry the memories of your ancestors, then you know what happens when knowledge is buried and pain festers. Silence. The lead counselor studied me with unreadable eyes. Then turned to Silari. Your bond with the human is reckless. Emotional. I didn't say it wasn't, she replied. A long pause. Then, you are summoned again at dusk, the counselor said coldly. Until then, the human is tolerated. He will be watched. Then she added like venom. If he fails again, he will not burn. He will vanish. The moment we stepped out of the council chamber, the air felt different. Heavier. I walked beside Silari down a crystalline corridor lit by soft flame orbs suspended in midair, their light dancing across her armor. But she said nothing. Her gaze was forward. Her jaw clenched. I waited until the doors behind us hissed shut. Did I say too much? No, she said flatly. You said exactly enough. We passed guards whose eyes tracked me like a virus. I caught quiet whispers, words I didn't recognize, but tones I understood. Contempt. Suspicion. Division. You've made enemies, Silari said at last. So have you, I said. She stopped walking. For a moment, her tail stilled. Her shoulders dropped, just slightly, enough to betray what the armor tried to hide. They think I'm compromised, she said. Weak. A soldier who lets a warm-blood intruder live. I stepped closer. Why didn't you let them kill me, back at the ruins? Silari didn't answer right away. Then, because you saw the veil, she said, and didn't look away. She turned to face me. Most Cawtharen barely endure it. But you held it. You hurt with it. I didn't do it for honor, I said. Or diplomacy. I know. She took a slow breath and started walking again. You should stay in the Ember Quarter. It's a secure zone. Monitored but safe. I don't want to be locked away. You'd rather be killed in an alley? We arrived at a chamber carved from pale amber and obsidian. Doors slid open, revealing a simple room, bedroll, table, basin, and a faint energy field in place of a door lock. It's not a prison, Silari said, noticing my hesitation. No bars. Just watchers. She turned to leave. Then paused. You'll be summoned again, she said, when the council decides whether you're a guest or a liability. And you? She looked at me, truly looked. I'll be asked if I've lost my mind, she said quietly. And I won't be sure how to answer. The door closed behind her with a soft hiss. I sat on the edge of the bedroll and stared at the walls, alive with flickering veins of orange and red. Somewhere beneath them, the molten heart of Cawtharen civilization pulsed with memory. And I lay there in silence, wondering if I'd already crossed a line I could never return from. I didn't sleep. The light never really faded here. Even in the quiet hours, the stone itself seemed to glow faintly, as if the planet's core burned just beneath my feet. I watched the flickers on the ceiling like old constellations, letting my thoughts drift. I wasn't afraid of the Cawtharen anymore. I was afraid of what I represented. A knock. 2 soft taps, then silence. I stood unsure if it was protocol or threat. Then the door slid open, and it wasn't Silari. It was a young Cawtharen male, lean, with copper-toned fur and dark eyes that gleamed too sharp in the dim light. He wore light armor, ceremonial not military, and a band of ember thread wrapped tight around his right forearm. I am Theron, he said smoothly. Lieutenant to High Sister Kaylee's. You were not invited, but I've come anyway. I straightened. You're not one of Silari's? He smiled. No. She walks on cracked stone. I prefer steady paths. There was something wrong in his posture. Not violent, just practiced. Controlled in a way I didn't trust. What do you want? To understand you, he said, circling the room. The human who made the veil scream. The one who made Silari bleed, then change. She didn't change. No, he agreed. But you did. You changed how we see her. And that's the problem. He turned to face me directly. You need to leave. Soon. I crossed my arms. Is that a threat? It's a gift, he said. Because if the council doesn't expel you, we will. Quietly. Permanently. I stared at him. You think killing me restores your balance? I think your presence breaks it, he replied, voice like silk. And the Cawtharen have endured enough fracture. He moved toward the door, pausing at the threshold. You have until the moons align, he said. After that, even Silari can't protect you. Then he was gone. I sat down slowly. And the silence that returned felt colder than before. Silari stormed into my chamber an hour later. She didn't knock. She didn't need to. The moment the door slid shut behind her, her eyes locked on mine, burning amber, jaw tight with restrained fury. He came here, she said. You knew? I warned him not to. She paced, tail lashing the air behind her, armor plates flexing with every step. Theron's not just a lieutenant. He's Kaylee's Shadowfawn. That means he doesn't speak unless she lets him. He told me to leave. Said you couldn't protect me forever. Her voice dropped to a growl. He's not wrong. I stood slowly. Is he right about you? She froze. I need to know, I said. Are you still on my side? Or is this about damage control now? Silari turned, slowly. Her face had gone unreadable, stone smooth. Dangerous. Then she stepped closer. so close I could feel the heat radiating from her skin. "I am not a diplomat, Jace," she said. "I don't weigh options in committee rooms. I don't smile and lie with silk." "I know. I am Calderon," she hissed. "I burned with my sisters when the veil was cracked. I buried those who screamed as the memories were torn from them. And I swore I would never kneel to peace built on silence." I didn't back away. "I'm not asking you to kneel," I said. She looked at me, truly looked. Then, something shifted behind her eyes. "I protected you because you reminded me that not all fire devours," she said softly. "Some of it warms. Some of it binds." My throat tightened. "But this will get worse before it gets better," she added. "Theron's not acting alone. Kaylee's has support. Old blood clans that want the past locked away. If they can paint you as a threat, they'll have their excuse to restart the purge." I nodded. "Then we stop them before that happens." Her ear flicked. "You're suggesting what? Diplomacy?" I smirked. "Something more dangerous. A public truth." That made her pause. "You'd speak before the Clade? If they'll listen." She exhaled slowly. "If you do this, there's no going back." "I know." Silari stared at me, silent, as if weighing something she hadn't dared acknowledge. Then she nodded. "We prepare," she said. The Clade didn't meet in a council room or war chamber. It met in the Echo Spire, a hollow mountain carved by lava flows and memory scribes. Its walls were etched with 1,000 generations of Calderon history, glowing threads of orange and white running like veins across black stone. When I entered, escorted by Silari and 2 guards from her loyal wing, the silence felt weaponized. Hundreds of Calderons sat in tiered rings rising into the shadowed dome. Some wore battleplate, others flowing robes. Young warriors with flame thread braids. Elders with fur dulled to copper gray. Every gaze bore down on me. I was the only human in the room. Silari led me to the central platform, a disk of glass suspended above a swirling pool of molten crystal. She stood beside me, tense but composed. A voice rang out above us, amplified by the acoustics. "Let it be recorded," intoned the Clade's herald, "that an outsider stands in the center of the echo." Another voice followed, deeper, colder. "Let it be judged whether his voice is truth or poison." I stepped forward. My throat felt like ash. But I spoke. "My name is Jace Wren. I came here by mistake. I stayed here by choice." No reaction. I saw the veil. I felt it. What we took, what my kind stole, it wasn't just memory. It was legacy. Grief. Identity. Still silence. But I also saw what comes next if we bury truth again. More fractures. More fire. A ripple passed through the crowd, some leaning forward, others turning away. Then a new voice called from above, unmistakable, sharp, and venom-laced. "Words come easy for those with no claws," said Kaylee's, stepping into view from a high chair. "You speak of pain you did not live, and peace you cannot offer." "I don't offer peace," I said. "I offer choice." She laughed, short and cold. "Choice led to war once. We will not mistake mercy for wisdom again." "I'm not asking for mercy," I said. "I'm asking you to look around and ask yourself, are we healing, or just hiding the wound?" Kaylee's eyes narrowed. "Enough." The herald turned to Silari. "Do you, Flameborn, vouch for this human's words?" Silari's voice was clear and hard. "I do." "You would stake your name?" She stepped forward, unsheathing her blade and plunging it tip first into the stone at her feet. "I stake my blood." The room erupted into sound. Shouts. Growls. Whispers. The Clade had heard. And now they would vote. We left the Echo Spire under heavy guard. Not to protect the Clade from me. To protect me from what came next. Silari walked beside me in silence as we descended the long obsidian corridor connecting the spire to Emberhold's inner sanctum. Guards flanked us, 3 of hers, trusted veterans with dull silver pauldrons and the mark of her flame band. Their eyes scanned every corner, every shadow. Because we knew what was coming. The vote would take time, hours, possibly longer, but those who didn't want to wait had already made their decision. I counted 7 in the upper tier who refused to look at you, Silari said quietly. 4 were Kalisa's. The others, undecided. You think they'll try something? I think they already have. As if summoned by her words, a flash of movement cut across the junction ahead. The first bolt slammed into the stone beside my head. Down! One of the guards roared, pushing me flat. Silari drew her blade before the second shot fired. It struck her shoulder plate, deflecting harmlessly as she surged forward in a blur of orange and steel. 2 masked Katheran emerged from the shadows, their armor unmarked, no flame band, no allegiance shown. Rogues. Or worse, loyalists in disguise. The guards responded instantly, pinning one against the wall with a shock pike. The other lunged at me, claws outstretched, and stopped midair. Silari's blade was at his throat. Yield, she said, voice low and final. He hesitated, then hissed. Kaylee says he's a poison. You should have let us cut the root. You just tried to kill a Clade witness under protective guard, she said, eyes burning. You'll never see light again. She struck him with the pommel, and he crumpled. The guards restrained both bodies and radioed for containment. Silari stood over the fallen rogue, breathing hard. They didn't wait, I said. No, she replied. They never do. Will this affect the vote? She turned to me. It already has. Now the Clade must choose between order and open fracture. We reached the safe chamber minutes later. It wasn't much, a stone room reinforced with old battle plating, likely from a forgotten war. No windows. No elegance. Just function. I sat on the bench in the corner, still catching my breath. Silari didn't sit. She stood by the door, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the flame thread tapestry swaying slightly from the air vents. You said you didn't come here to be a symbol, she said after a while. I didn't. She glanced at me. But now you are one. I couldn't argue. I'd die for the right cause, I said. But I'd rather live with one. Silari's eyes met mine. And this time, there was no fire behind them. Only understanding. The chamber was so quiet I could hear the fire threads crackling inside the walls. Silari stood with her arms folded, her tail still, her breath even. I'd come to know that posture. It meant she was calm on the outside and calculating 1,000 possibilities underneath. War lived just beneath her fur, but now, so did hope. A sharp chime echoed through the room. The wall across from us shimmered, and the image of a Katheran elder formed in the air, translucent, voice wrapped in static-laced authority. The Clade has spoken. Silari tensed, but didn't move. The human known as Jace Wren is permitted to remain on Katheran soil under strict terms of conditional alliance. He will be designated witness of the flame, observed, questioned, and included in peace bond negotiations. I exhaled, too sharply. The elder continued. Any further acts of aggression against him will be treated as war intent, and punished accordingly. Silari finally moved. She looked at me, not with triumph, but something deeper. Respect. They accepted the risk, I said quietly. No, she replied. They accepted you. The transmission ended. A moment later, the chamber door opened. Waiting for us outside were 2 new guards bearing the crest of the Clade, different from Silari's wing, not enemies, but not allies either. The leader stepped forward, a tall Katheran female with sleek black fur and blue runes braided into her tail. I am Commander Marin, she said. Assigned to oversee the witnesses' presence. Oversee? I asked. Protect, advise, and report, she said, with no apology in her tone. I'll handle that, Silari cut in. No, Marin replied evenly. You won't. The Council wants balance, not loyalty. I could feel the tension coiling in Silari's shoulders. But she gave a nod. Barely. We'll need access to the vault, I said, stepping into the conversation. The original site. The memory core's not stable. There are fragments missing. Marin blinked, surprised I'd speak with that much authority. Silari gave me the smallest flick of a glance. Good. You'll get access, Marin said finally. But with eyes on you. Every step. We followed them through the corridors of Emberhold. No longer prisoners. Not quite guests. Just two people caught between past sins and fragile futures. And as we walked, Silari leaned closer to me and whispered, Everything changes now. The vault hadn't changed. Its spires still jutted from the canyon floor like the ribs of some ancient beast. Wind whipped through the cracks, carrying a dry whisper of static. Runes pulsed faintly beneath the surface of the stone, dimmer now, like a lantern nearing its final flicker. But something felt wrong. Silari sensed it first. The veil is strained, she muttered. Like it's listening too hard. Marin and her two observers stood behind us, expressionless. They carried scanning gear, sleek and humming with layered frequencies. I knelt by the core's pedestal, reaching for the stabilizing node we'd installed the week before. It was cold. Too cold. Energy outputs dropped 20%, I said, running diagnostics. Memory structure's intact, but there's interference on all channels. Explain, Marin said. It's like something else is trying to talk over it. Silari's ears twitched. Or through it. She moved to the obelisk and placed her palm flat against it. Nothing responded. No pulse. No projection. Just stone. Then a spark. The runes beneath her hand flared white. White. Not orange. Her hand snapped back instinctively, and a jagged burst of light erupted from the obelisk, a cascade of glyphs none of us recognized. Faster than Kaltheran's script. Sharper. Violent. The projection began. A figure appeared. It wasn't Kaltheran. It wasn't human. It was cloaked in obsidian armor, its face a smooth mirror reflecting us back at ourselves. Its voice buzzed through static like torn metal. Protocol breach detected. Vault sequence compromised. Memory asset intercepted. Claim verified. Reclamation imminent. The image vanished. I looked at Silari. She looked at me. Marin's hand was already on her calm. Did that look Valari to you? I asked. No, Silari said quietly. It looked older. What did it mean by intercepted? Marin asked. I answered without turning. It means someone else found what we buried, before we did. The runes began to crackle again, like a system rebooting, unsure of who to obey. Silari stepped toward me, her eyes flickering. We need to go deeper. Into the vault? Yes, she said. Whatever's coming is already inside. The entrance to the lower vault wasn't meant to be found. Silari traced the veil's fractured runes with one claw, humming a low tone in her throat. It wasn't a song, not quite, more like a code, half memory, half instinct. The stone responded slowly, reluctantly, like something waking from a long, bitter sleep. A seam appeared near the base of the obelisk. Dust fell away in curls as a hidden panel slid open, revealing a spiral descent carved not in stone, but in solid glass. Veins of red gold light pulsed down its center like blood trapped in crystal arteries. Marin stepped forward. This isn't on any archive. No, Silari replied. Because even we weren't meant to return. We descended in silence. The spiral narrowed as we moved deeper. Walls grew smoother, colder. The air smelled like ozone and scorched metal, ancient technology mixed with something raw. I could feel it in my teeth, resonance, pressure, memory leaking from the walls. And eyes. Even when I knew no one was behind us, I felt it. Finally, the tunnel widened into a chamber unlike anything we'd seen. It wasn't Kaltheran. It wasn't human. It was alien in a way that had nothing to do with biology. It was philosophical. Geometries that hurt to look at. Shapes that echoed before they appeared. The floor was a dark mirror, reflecting not us, but moments of us. Flashes. Silari standing alone in a battlefield. Me, holding the memory core above a pit of fire. Things that hadn't happened yet, or had, and been erased. In the center, a pedestal. Upon it, a second core. Smaller. Rougher. Still active. Silari stepped forward cautiously. Her hand hovered above it. It's like the veil, she whispered, but not made by us. Could it be Valari? Marin asked. I shook my head. This doesn't broadcast. It absorbs. Then the room dimmed. A voice bloomed in the space around us, deeper than sound, like gravity speaking. Observer accepted. Pattern complete. Flame reconciled. The pedestal shifted. And a holographic map burst into existence, a galactic spread. Stars, systems, lines threading between them like veins. Some were flickering. Others marked with pulsing red. This is a network, I said slowly. A relay system. This vault, it's just one node. Of what? Silari asked. The projection answered. Flameseed Protocol. Cross-species convergence. Initiated. Silari's ears flattened. I looked at her. What's Flameseed? She stared at the map. It's myth. An origin tale. We believed we were made in flame. That somewhere, someone lit a spark and let it spread. You think this proves it? She didn't blink. I think we're standing inside the matchbox. Then the map shifted again. A red line traced from Gliese 7D outward, past human space, toward a dark region uncharted by either of our empires. It pulsed 3 times. Then went dark. What was that? Marin asked. Silari's voice was barely audible. An invitation. Or, I thought, a countdown. We returned to Emberhold beneath a sky darkened by storm fronts. Static clung to the air, and the towers glowed with a nervous pulse, the city itself sensing what we'd awakened. Inside the chamber of command, chaos had already begun. Dozens of Kaldheran voices argued at once. Some cried betrayal. Others demanded containment. A few, not many, begged to follow the map. Silari stood in the center of it, arms folded, her tail unmoving. Calm in the middle of the wildfire. They won't listen, Marin muttered at my side. They will, I said. Because if they don't, they'll lose control of what's coming. The council chamber doors opened. Kaylee's entered. Surrounded by her personal guard, her fur braided in ceremonial cords of black and silver. She walked like a queen, spoke like a weapon. You activated it, she said coldly. You let it speak. It was already awake, Silari replied. You should have sealed it. Not fed it. I stepped forward. It's not a beast. It's a signal. A warning. Maybe even a bridge. Kaylee's didn't even look at me. You've infected her, she said. Taught her to see fire as metaphor instead of weapon. No, Silari said, voice low. He taught me that it can also light the way. Gasps rippled through the room. Kaylee stepped closer. You've chosen your side, then. I've chosen our future, Silari said. Kaylee's unsheathed her blade, not to attack, but to make her point. Then you've made yourself part of the problem. A pause. Then a new voice, old and quiet, filled the hall. Unless she's found the solution. It was one of the eldest Clade members, blindfolded, voice like paper burned to ash. She raised her hand. The vault was not corrupted. It was calling. And the Flameseed theory, it is not myth. It is suppressed truth. There are others out there. Others with pieces of us. Kaylee's eyes narrowed. If we silence this now, the elder continued, we kill not just opportunity, but memory itself. The chamber fell still. And then the herald stepped forward. The Clade will vote, he said. For the first time in 4 lifetimes, we choose between isolation and pursuit. He turned to me. You, human, have walked our flame and lived. You've spoken with memory. You've bled. Will you go? I met Silari's gaze. She nodded once. I will, I said. Then it is decided, the herald replied. You will lead the next journey,